We are here to bring a new type of news show.
New insights, new styles, and new topics every single day.
We are News Generation.
Bring news just for you. It's Tuesday, August 27th here in Seoul. I'm Song Yujin, and you're watching News Generation. Today, we're joined by Kwon Ji-hyun.
Happy Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday, and Cheska Dainha.
Happy Tuesday, everyone.
Happy Tuesday. Both are here to speak on behalf of those in their 20s and 30s. As usual, we're going to start with our news feed, which covers different hashtags and news items that have been trending online. Let's start with the Paris 2024 Paralympic Games, which kicks off this Wednesday. Hong Kong martial arts actor Jackie Chan has been chosen as one of the torchbearers for the Games. According to the Paris Paralympics Organizing Committee, Chan will carry the torch on Wednesday afternoon in Paris, just hours before the opening ceremony. French actor Elsa Gilverstein and dancer Benjamin Millepied will also take part in the relay. Now, staying with the sports, Hong Myung-bo, the new manager of the South Korean men's national football team, announced his first 26-man squad on Monday since taking up the position for a second time. 4 new players have joined the national team for the first time. Among them is 18-year-old Yang Min-hyuk from Gangwon FC, who's set to join the English Premier League's Tottenham Hotspur in January. The Korean men's national team will face Palestine and Oman in next month's 2026 World Cup qualifiers. Finally, we're exactly 3 weeks away from Chuseok, the Korean Thanksgiving. Chuseok is a special time when we exchange gifts with our loved ones or those who we want to show our appreciation to. However, with rising prices, things are a bit different this year. According to a survey by the Korea Agro-Fisheries and Food Trade Corporation, 35.3% of respondents said their budget for Chuseok gifts this year is under 100,000 Korean won, which is about $75. That's more than double the percentage from last year. Also, one of the largest grocery store chains in the country reported that 83% of the orders for Chuseok gift sets were under 50,000 won, roughly $38. So here in the studio, I want to ask our panelists, do you also exchange gifts for Chuseok? And if you do, how's your budget looking like this year?
I mean, I think this newsfeed is perfect for the type of conditions that are going through in my household because maybe because of the rising prices, but our household has been extremely streamlined. So even though I visit my grandparents during Chuseok, they rarely cook. Now we buy prepaid meals and we have like a couple of dishes, maybe a meat just to, kind of entertain the family, but that's about it. But because all my family is in New York, I have a very interesting tradition. And when I visit New York for Thanksgiving, what I do is we actually cook for our parents.
That's so
nice. Yeah, we do the grocery shopping and we prepare the whole spread, but I don't think they appreciate it as much.
Well, they might appreciate it inside. They might not express it to you.
I hope so, but it's Thanksgiving, so I do hope they express more thanks to us. Yeah.
But I think that this is more meaningful. Of course, exchanging gifts is meaningful, but I think cooking for your loved ones is also like a great gift, especially for Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and it's also budget saving because we're going to all eat anyway, so might as well spend the money on the meal. Yeah.
Definitely. So Cheska is going to spend her Chuseok this year. Are you also going to cook for your parents this year?
I mean, I would, but I hope they give more thanks this time.
Please express more thanks to Cheska.
Are you watching, Mom?
What about you, Jin? How are you planning to express your gratitude for Thanksgiving, Korean Thanksgiving, Chuseok?
Well, in the past, I used to give my parents, my in-laws, some ginseng, fruit, and some cash as well as Chuseok gifts. And if I received any presents from work, I'd also pass those on them. However, as you mentioned, with rising prices, I've started focusing more on giving cash rather than gifts. Instead of splashing out on something just for Chuseok, I tend to pick up what they need throughout the whole year. It's a bit kind of on the budget that way, I guess so. And I'm planning to give them this year 200,000 won each. After all, a bit of extra cash is always better than a ginseng root.
Right, because you may be able to buy something that you really need or want through the cash gift, if not ginseng root, right? Right, so that was our news feed for this Tuesday. So we're now going to move on to our main discussion of the day. Today we're going to explore a new trend in the Korean entertainment industry. Take a look at the screen to find out more.
The Korean film Exhuma became the first movie this year to sell over 10 million tickets. The film revolves around 2 shamans investigating a series of mysterious events surrounding a wealthy family. But it's not just Exhuma. This year, we've seen a surge in movies and TV shows centered around shamans, leading to what's being called the K-occult phenomenon. The term occult refers to beliefs, practices, or phenomena that are supernatural, mystical, or magical. So, what is it about this genre that has captivated audiences?
Right, so traditionally, occult-themed entertainment was more of a niche in Korea, but it now seems to have become part of the mainstream. So I want to start off by asking our panelists, could you share some examples?
Yes, of course. Well, the occult culture was once a niche subculture, as you mentioned, primary, enjoyed by a small, dedicated audience.
Like me.
Like you, and including myself. However, it has recently become a mainstream theme in films, OTT platforms, and TV variety shows. For example, the film Pamyo or Exhuma attracted over 10 million viewers.
Right.
It has led the trend of Gen Z interest in shamans. Its success highlights the strong influence of shamanistic traditions and occult practices in Korean society. The film still remains popular on Netflix, and the comedy occult movie Handsome Guys is also performing well at the box office these days.
Right, so we're seeing more occult-themed movies in the theaters, but it's not just theaters, right, Cheska?
Yeah, it's definitely expanding beyond the theatre. So I don't know if some of you have watched it. Giona, I kind of talked about it, but there is a dating program called Possessed Love. A great title, which I think is called 신들린 연애.
It was a big hit.
Was it?
Yeah.
I mean, I unfortunately haven't watched it, but apparently the shamans come as the bachelors and bachelorettes
Right.
and try to date by forecasting the relationships and the romantic, intricacies of what goes on between, in the dating variety show. And another one that came out is literally called Shaman, and it's a documentary series that brings people who have actually experienced or have suffered from being able to see or interact with supernatural beings. So as we can see, there are so many contents that are being created that has to do with shamanism, and as we talked about, some of a very scary thing for me personally.
Right, so a variety of genres or content, for example, movies that Chuyeon mentioned, dating reality shows, and documentary shows as well. Now, as mentioned in the VCR earlier, these type of content all fall under the so-called occult genre, which includes elements like devils, demons, witchcraft, sorcery, voodoo, and shamans. Now, everything. Now, some people are drawn to these themes and believe in them, like me, for example, while others are a bit more skeptical. So I want to ask our panelists, what do you think? Do you find these content appealing? Do you believe in these beliefs?
It is appealing indeed, but I'm Christian. I was raised in a religious family, so I believe in God and don't really put much faith in things like fortune telling or shamanism. However, that doesn't mean I'm not interested in occult culture. I have enjoyed watching dramas with occult elements like Drama Chiok or Hellbound, and I'm sure some of you remember this 2015 drama, Odae Ghost in English. I like these dramas because they mix a touch of a supernatural with just the right amount of suspense into it, keeping me hooked and entertained.
Right. I think this is what mesmerizes the audience who are especially interested in occult-themed content. So Jiyeon seems to be a big fan of K-occult content indeed. What about you, Cheska? Are you a big fan as well?
I probably have the tiniest chicken heart when it comes to these contents. I swear to God, when I was forced to watch Exhuma, I was lied and dragged into. I wore a giant bowl cap just so that I could hide underneath.
But you can still hear the sound.
I would block my sight and then I would use the hands too, because I can't do both. But for me, I think I represent the demographics that are probably not into it. But I know for sure that a lot of MZ generations are really into these cultures because Exhuma had 10 million views.
Right.
Apparently, a lot of the demographic that came to watch it were the younger generation. But I also, according to the production staff that produced the documentary for Shaman, what he said was that our generation takes on these occult themes quite differently, meaning they see it as more of a practical thing. So if it can help them relieve their anxiety, concern, or even provide some sort of relief and distraction, they would fall into the category of more of an entertainment, not so much a belief that they commit to. So I think that's the big difference.
Right, and I think this kind of leads to my next question, because it's not just content like movies or TV shows that we've talked about until now. These days, it's quite common for young people to visit shamans for fortune telling, which was something that was once considered unusual for the younger generation in Korea because the primary users consumers of primary consumers or those who went to the shaman's house were kind of like our parents or grandparents' generation. So I want to ask our panelists, why do you think this shift has happened?
You know, definitely it was for our older generation who kind of very much believed and dedicated their life to getting the readings from these shamans. But I think for our generation, we definitely took a little bit of different turns. So I even brought my tarot cards with me.
Right.
As you can see, it's very non-scary at all. It says imagine, like peace, and all the beautiful and positive words. So going along with what I talked about in terms of our generation, we're using it more for positive affirmations, more of an advantage. I know tons of my friends, they go to get tarot readings, but when I sit next to them, the questions are very simplistic. When will I get married? Like, what is this guy thinking? Why is he not calling me back? So definitely has more to do with entertainment purposes. But of course, there are demographics that are still very much invested and serious. And I know some people that would travel miles and hours just to get a reading from what we call so-called 신내림, which is like a gifted or chosen person. But on either extreme, I think the underlying psyche of our generation is that we really want some answers in a world where everything seems uncertain. So I think that is very common among our generation, regardless.
Right, so maybe they kind of want to get some sort of an answer to the big questions they have in their life, whether that be relationship issues or whether that be selecting your career paths and etc. Now, what could be some other reasons, Jian?
Well, there is a notable decline in traditional religious beliefs among peoples in their 20s and 30s as they become less central to their lives and cultural norms. Well, this shift reflects a psychological need to predict their future, find empathy, and gain hope through such practices. And the widespread presence of shamanism in Korea can partly be attributed to the country's 빨리빨리, hurry cultural mentality. This fast-paced approach is a hallmark of Korean culture, reflecting a preference for completing tasks very quickly. Thus, people often seek swift glimpses into the future through occult practices, as these offer immediate answers and reassurance that AI can't provide you. Ever.
So this hurry or 빨리빨리 culture could be another reason why so many young people in Korea are into the occult. Now, to find out what's it like in other parts of the world, we also asked our viewers if occult content is gaining popularity in their countries as well. And here's what 3 of them said. If we look at the comments, Leonteo93 says occult content in Singapore is not as widely popular as in some other cultures. While there is a small but dedicated following, it's not a mainstream trend. However, there might be a slight increase in interest in occult content during the Hungry Ghost Festival, which is currently going on. Benny D97 says in the Philippines, there are blogs about the occult on the internet. These topics are kind of interesting to know, and some are being discussed on traditional media instead. Sunny J99 says occult content is not so popular compared to other genres, but there is a loyal fan base of the content. It used to focus merely on occult in the past, however, nowadays, by mixing with popular genres such as love, it has become easier for those who are not fans to also enjoy it. So, looking at our viewers' comments, I kind of think that this shows that the younger generation in Korea are especially into these occult-themed contents or beliefs. So now, to better understand why the younger generation in our country is gravitating towards these beliefs, we're going to invite an expert to our talks right after this break. So today we're joined by Christy Chun, a counselor at the Torch Trinity Counseling Center in Seoul. Welcome back to the show, Christy.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you for joining us once again. So our first question for you is, our panelists earlier mentioned that a key reason for the younger generation's interest in the occult is a sense of uncertainty and anxiety. So what's your take on that?
Yes, I partially do agree. Anxiety is much more prevalent and experienced by the younger generation today. Since people are more uncertain with their future, relationships, and career, I think people are drawn to occult contents or anything that can portray what might happen in the future because this gives them a sense of ease and comfort. Uncertainty itself arouses anxiety. And so being able to specify and be more certain would lessen anxiety. And people are more prone to fortune telling, shamanism, or even prophecies when they want to know the details about their future, such as what kind of person is a good match, when they will get married, when they'll earn a lot of money, and so on. If any type of fortune telling or believing in spirits helps them to predict their future, they will feel less anxious. And it's not just about the future. The spiritual realm is actually invisible in our eyes and is unknown. But people may be fascinated about seeing what goes on in the spiritual world visually, as it is well portrayed in occult contents.
Interesting. Well, even though shamanism and occult practices have long been part of our culture in Korea, it seems that they have recently become more prominent in the mainstream media. What do you think has sparked this change?
Although shamanism and occult practices existed before, the barrier for seeking them was much more higher. As fortune telling became more accessible to users offline and online, I think it gradually became more prevalent in the media. And people regarded shamanism as something spiritual and didn't find much relevance to their personal life. But modern fortune telling helps people to understand their past, their personality traits, behavioral tendencies, and guides them to choose big decisions in their life. This is interesting because getting to know oneself is actually can be gained from psychological counseling or even coaching.
Yes.
But now if it's any tool or services that help people to feel more certain about themselves, then they'll rely on them more. And another possible reason to why shamanism and occultism has been more prominent is because it combines two popular topics in genres such as romance, fantasy, and thrillers. And this combination of genres, also termed as hybrid genre, arouses psychological stimulation and curiosity, and people find much enjoyment in them.
I mean, I actually know a few personal instances of some people that fell heavily into these kind of culture. But what are some considerations and precautions you would like to advise to people when they're trying to consume these contents or services?
Yes, it would be good to think about why am I drawn to this type of media or services before being too influenced by them. When our reality is too overwhelming for us, we would like to drift away from our issues and turn to stimulating content or rely on occult services that seemingly tells of our future. But despite the content or services, we will be never certain of our future. And rather than trying to be certain or predict the future, it would be helpful to name what you're worried about and specify the contents of what you would like to know about your future. Naming our fears actually helps us to cope with our anxiety. Anxiety itself is uncertain and has no boundary, but when we specify our thoughts and slowly process through what you are anxious about, we can at least cope better. Relying on occult media or shamanism can temporarily give you relief, but it will never give us any uncertainty or absolute peace. In this ever-changing society, let's try to hold on to any values, beliefs, or solid relationships that are much more stable and give us a sense of security.
Definitely some very useful advice. All right, Christy, thank you so much for your time today. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. So I like to ask the same question to our panelists because, as Christy mentioned, these occult-themed content, they're becoming more prevalent. Movies, TV shows, and even YouTube channels run by shamans and also offline and online fortune-telling services. So what do you think we should keep in mind when consuming these services or watching such content?
Well, it's quite important to not to take it too seriously, too deep, or believe it without a question. While occult content can be entertaining, it's crucial to approach it with a healthy dose of critical thinking and not let it overly influence your decisions or your ideas, beliefs. And if a fortune teller predicts a rough day, just remember, their crystal ball might be cloudy, but your future is still bright.
Wow, that's such a great quote to end off our discussion today. Well, I think the pressure has mounted on you, Jessica. What kind of advice do you have for our viewers?
Christy just told us not to be anxious. But But I heard this really great statement from her that kind of resonates with me. She said anxiety has no bounds.
Right, right.
So I think when life gets really tough, people kind of scrape for anything that they can hold on to. And with any kind of services or content, it is good to consume to a level to get some sort of entertainment or comfort. But at the end of the day, I think even with tarot cards, you get to pick and make the choices.
Right. It's
And
your decision.
It's your decision, and the interpretation is always open. So with that, I think that's the kind of mindset we should apply when it comes to life.
And also, all in all, we don't know what's happening, what's going to happen
Exactly.
in our future. Well, hope our discussion today helped you understand more about K-occult content and also services. Now, that's all from us today, but Newsden will be back tomorrow at 9:30 a.m. Korea time. Special thanks today to Kwon Ji-yeon
My pleasure.
and Cheska Dainha.
This is Osman.
Thank you. And thank you everyone for watching, and we'll see you tomorrow. We are News Generation.